Hello friends, let's discuss current affairs. We begin with a question on the protests that are happening in the United States against the second administration of Donald Trump. You know, um, through a flurry of executive orders, the United States president has disrupted a lot of status quos, and consequently, a lot of people are not happy. Chief among them are activists who advocate diversity, equity, and inclusion, LGBTQ plus rights. You know, people who advocate immigration. So in all these things, there have been a lot of deception considering, a series of executive orders passed by President Donald Trump. So there has been a consistent pattern of protest against Donald Trump, and this movement of protest is called 50501. What is the significance of this? It means, I'll just, let me, it simply means 50 states, let's use white, 50 states, 50 protests, one movement, or one day. Some people call it one day, some people call it one movement. And in some places you will find the order changing a bit. This 50 states, you say 50 protests and then 50 states. It hardly matters, don't worry too much about it. So 50 protests, 50 states, one movement is the significance of 50501. Got it? As you know, America has 50 states, my friends, 50 states. Consequently, across these 50 states, there have been protests by, opponents of Donald Trump on the issues I just mentioned, like immigration, LGBTQ rights, DEI, which is diversity, equity and inclusion. So 50 protests, 50 states, and one day or one movement. That's about it, my friends. There's hardly anything else to discuss about this. Let's go to the next one. What category of Indian exports reached over $30 billion, $30 United States billion dollars in FY25, up by about 9%. FI is financial year 25, the one that ended on March 31st, 2025. So there are top 5 exports. Total exports of India last year were about 434. The number is 433.5. I just took the higher end. Okay. So $434 billion. Unless it's specified, it's always specified, otherwise it's always the United States dollar. So $434 billion, my friends, is the total, the value of total exports from India. Now, ladies and gentlemen, of this, there are few, let me actually bring this in somewhere else. So total exports 434 billion, okay, of which engineering goods constituted 117. See, this is 116.8, I took 117. So sometimes I will take the next, I will round it off to the next higher one. This is $60 billion and petroleum products. Electronic goods about, 31. Pharmaceuticals, it's 30.4, while this is 29.8. Since if I had made gems and jewelry at 30 and this also 30, then 4 and 5 would be a little dicey in terms of ranking. But these are the final numbers, my friends. Okay, $1 billion. These are India's top 5 exports, and they constitute a significant chunk of this total number. $434 billion is what we exported last year. Okay. So now we aren't doing great as far as exports are concerned. See, if you look at a country like Vietnam, it exports much more than India, and Vietnam is a very small country compared with ours. Okay, but then it would take some time. In fact, it would take a long time for us to reach anywhere near China. In fact, we will never reach China. I can tell you that. I'll tell why I'd say this, why I'm optimistic. about China and pessimistic about India is China's exports are about $3,500 billion. What are ours? 434. So you think about the gap. It's a huge gap, isn't it? Sorry, guys. Ajay Bhushan Pandey has been appointed the Vice President of the Investment, Vice President, simply called Vice President of some department at the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. This is headquartered in Beijing. It's headquartered in Beijing, and it's run by a Chinese diplomat called Jin Liken. He is the president. He's the president or chairman, whatever. Okay. So coming to the choices here, New Development Bank, you know, are aware it's also called the BRICS Bank. It's headquartered in Shanghai. And ladies and gentlemen, it's headed by a former president of Brazil, Dilma Rousseff. Dilma Rousseff. In some places, you will find two F's, one S. Do not worry too much. These are all proper nouns, to each their own. Asian Development Bank is a regional development bank. Regional, it's like, the World Bank, but focus on Asia Pacific here. Asian Development Bank is headquartered in Manila, which, as you know, is the capital of Philippines, Manila, and it's headed by Masato Kanda. Masato Kanda is a Japanese. In fact, please remember that till date, the World Bank's head has always been an American. The International Monetary Fund's head has always been a European. Following that pattern, a Japanese chap has always headed the Asian Development Bank. So, ADB, Japan, IMF, Europe, and the World Bank, of course, the United States. They divided this among themselves. European Central Bank, it headed by Christine Lagarde. Christine Lagarde. She's a former French finance minister and, of course, former chief of the IMF as well. Christine Lagarde. And Federal Reserve. This is the US Federal Reserve, their central bank. We call it the Reserve Bank of India. They call it the US Federal Reserve. It's headed by the American Federal Reserve's chairperson is Jerome Powell. Jerome Powell. So, ladies and gentlemen, we covered every choice here. Yeah. From there, of course, to the next one, India's National Civil Services Day is always celebrated. It has always been celebrated on 21st April here. Yeah. Why 21st April? Because on this day, in 1947, India's first Deputy Prime Minister and Home Minister, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, addressed the first batch of civil servants in independent India. That's the reason. There is no other reason. Okay, the first batch of independent India. Now, as you know, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was India's first Deputy Prime Minister. He was the Prime Minister Deputy Prime Minister between 1947 and 1950. 1950. Now, when you say 1950, remember one thing, that he passed away on 15th December 1950. That's the reason we kind of we mentioned that specific thing, 1950. April 25th is World Malaria Day. April 22nd is Earth Day. What is it? Earth Day. Let's go to the next one. Which country's parliament has appointed Zuro Makut as the Prime Minister? It's Serbia. Serbia's, let's look at some capital also. Yeah. Serbia's capital is Belgrade. And its Prime Minister, its President, that's the Prime Minister. President is Alexander Vučić. Is pro-Russia, anti-European Union. Alexander Vučić. Latvia is one of the three Baltic states. The capital is Riga. And the the prime minister is, what is that name? Evika Selina. Evika Selina. Little difficult to remember these names. Evika Selina. Czech Republic. The capital is Prague, and the prime minister here is Petra Fiala. That's how you pronounce Fiala. P-E-T-R. Petra Fiala. Poland's capital is Warsaw, and the president is it's a presidential system. So Andrzej Duda. J-Z Duda. D-U-D-A. Andrzej Duda. Romania's capital is Bucharest, but as of today, there is no president in this country because election recently was annulled actually. No elections have been held, but the capital is Bucharest or Bucharest. Okay. A contingent of the Indian Air Force participated in exercise Desert Flag 10 hosted by the United Arab Emirates. This was a multilateral exercise. The air forces of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, Australia, France, UK, United States, they all came down to participate here. Now, between India and the UAE, there are exercises with India. Okay, let's say UAE and India. Bilateral exercises include Desert Cyclone, Desert Eagle, and there's one more, Zayed Talwar. Zayed Talwar. This is the name of the founder of the UAE, the founder president of the UAE. So, the current president is Mohammed bin Zayed, Muhammad the son of Zayed Al Nahyan. So, Zayed Talwar. So, 3 exercises we have had on a bilateral level, with the UAE. That's about it. Hardly anything else to discuss here. Name the winners of the 2025 Goldman Environmental Prize. See, this is an environmental prize started in 1989 by a couple named Richard and Rhonda. Richard and Rhonda Goldman. This relates to this. Okay. So, if you know that there is a keyword. You don't have to write it repeatedly. This is a keyword, Goldman Prize. Okay. So, Richard Goldman and Rhonda Goldman started this prize in 1989. It is given to those who have made significant contribution to sustainable environmental practices. Now, 4 are mentioned. There are 2 more. Okay. One is from this couple from Albania. Albania is a tiny country in Europe, my friends. Okay, just above Greece, you would find this. Below Croatia, Bosnia, and all this. Besanj Guri. Besanj Guri and Olsi Nike. Olsi Nike. Nike. Okay. So, you would find this, what is it? I think I jumbled the words here. It should be Besjana. Yeah, Besjana. Besjana Guri and, Olsi Nike, Nike. So, that's Albania, and there is one more. You must have heard of a country called Peru. No, Peru is considered one of the world's most hottest biodiversity, areas. It is home to a large number of flora and fauna species. In fact, it's one of those countries like Colombia, like Indonesia, which is home to more number of species than entire continents. So, from Peru, there was this person named, what's his name? I am not very familiar with the first name is right. Mari Murayari. Murayari. Yes, I think that's the name. Mari Murayari. Yes. The environmentalist from Peru is Mari Murayari. So, apart from Guri and Nike from Albania, there is Murayari from Peru, plus these 4 persons. Tunisia, as you would know, is a place, is the northernmost country in Africa. Mongolia is squeezed between Russia and China. It's the second largest landlocked country in the world. Canary Islands could be found in the Atlantic Ocean. Of course, United States, you're all familiar with. Yeah. Klaus Schwab, who is in the news, is the founder of the World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum. Klaus Schwab recently stepped down from the position of being the chairperson of the World Economic Forum, which is started in 1971. It's a think tank. It's a non-binding ideas come here out of this particular, what is it called, think tank. Every year in January, in a place called Davos in Switzerland, the world's who's who, CEOs, world leaders, political leaders, ideologues, thought leaders, they all come down, sit here, there and discuss things. So, he started this in 1971 and this is headquartered in a place called Colony. Colony is in Switzerland, okay. Remember, Colony is in Switzerland. This is the head office of World Economic Forum and started by Klaus Schwab. But annual meetings are held in another Swiss town called Davos. Where? What about the choices? You're quite familiar with WTO. I'm sure you're familiar with. Like UNCTAD we discussed last week. But any which way, Rebecca Greenspan. I'll just focus on the chiefs of this. Rebecca, single C. Rebecca Greenspan from Costa Rica. From Costa Rica. Amnesty International is a human rights organization headed by Agnes Callamard of France. Agnes Callamard of France. Yeah, Agnes Callamard. ICRC is the International Committee of the Red Cross. International Committee of the Red Cross. And International Committee of the Red Cross, my friends, is headquartered in Geneva and it's headed by Mirjana Egger. Okay. Egger. She's from Croatia, Serbia. Let's keep it simple. Mirjana Egger and World Trade Organization is headed by a Nigerian diplomat named Ngozi Okonjo Iweala. Yeah, from Nigeria. First woman and first African to become the DG, Director General of the World Trade Organization. Which country has introduced its first ever gold recycling ATM? ATM is automated teller machine. Automated teller machine, offering a fast and tech-savvy way for people to trade in gold jewelry for instant cash. It's like selling of gold. Gold prices are at an historically high. They have breached the 10 lakh bar for 100 grams, my friends. If you take 1 gram, it's 1 lakh rupee. Yeah, it's gone to 10 more than it's when you say 10 grams, it's more than 10 lakh rupees. 100 grams. Things are pretty bad for especially those who have weddings coming up at home. Gold has gone out of reach, my friends, has gone out of reach. But who is buying gold in such large quantities that the price gold has gone past, the common man's affordability? It is because central banks are buying gold in large quantities. China and Russian central banks are buying gold in super large quantities. And gold is pretty limited in quality, supply. So consequently, and plus, of course, high net worth individuals also are buying gold. It's considered a safe asset, especially when there is a lot of inflation. When inflation reduces the value of money, but gold, has more or less, they say, stable price. It's not always case. It's not always the case. See, last week I told you that in this class I'll discuss the Trumpian tariffs. I remember that. Yeah, I'm not going to discuss this. Maybe next week I'll discuss that. I'll also bring in a little more about the gold prices. Okay. Maybe the first 10 minutes we'll focus on both gold and of course, the Trumpian tariffs, the impact on the rest of the world, especially on China. So, China is the world's largest producer of gold, world's largest producer and consumer of gold. Remember this, China is the world's largest producer of gold. The top 3 producers of gold would be China, Russia and Australia. China, Russia and Australia are the top 3 producers of gold. What is the theme of the World Immunization Week observed by the World Health Organization from April 24 to 30? The last week of April is the World Immunization Week, and this is the theme for this year. Remember, this is headquartered in Geneva. Last week we discussed the name of the chief of this organization, Dr. Tedros Adhanom. Tedros Adhanom of Ethiopia. He is the Director General of the World Trade Organization. Okay. So let's go to the next one. Identify the measures undertaken by the government of India in view of in the wake of the Pahalgam terror attacks. I mean, it kind of was a very big tragedy, but we had to punish the Pakistanis, and apart from the military response, the government of India has taken a lot of non-military steps. Some of these are mentioned here. Suspending the Indus Water Treaty. The Indus Water Treaty was signed in 1960. Under this, there are 6 rivers that start in India, flow into Pakistan. Or India is called Upper Riparian. What is it called? Upper Riparian. Okay. Like for example, you have Godavari starting here and it flows through Telangana and then Andhra Pradesh. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Maharashtra would be called Upper Riparian. From the viewpoint of, from the viewpoint of Andhra Pradesh, even Telangana would be called Upper Riparian. You got the idea? And Andhra Pradesh would be called Lower Riparian. That's, lower riparian states always accuse the upper riparian states of holding water and not releasing enough. Any which way. 1960 it was signed and it was brokered by more or less the World Bank. ICJ rivers. Under this, ICJ and BRS rivers. ICJ is Indus, Chenab, Jhelum rivers would be for exclusive use of Pakistan, whereas the BRS, Beas, Ravi and Sutlej rivers will be for the exclusive use of India. Now, it's not that India cannot use the water from the ICJ rivers. No, India can use the water from ICJ rivers. India cannot build dams to hold water. But India can build power, we can build, hydroelectric projects, but they should be run of the mill. These power projects should not hold water. So, for example, on Chenab, we have the Baglihar Dam. That dam is what is called a run of the mill. It does not stop the water of Chenab from flowing into Pakistan. Now we have stopped all the waters. Okay. So, we are going to construct a series of dams that would hold water. That's the idea behind all of these things, my friends. Now, as far as the SAARC is concerned, it was started in 1985 as the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. Let me repeat, South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. And this organization has 8 members. Its head office is in Kathmandu. The capital of Nepal. 8 members. So, how do you remember these names? Very easy to remember actually, if you would be familiar with geography. Okay. Now, this is our country, of course. This is Pakistan, Afghanistan. Hmm? Then we have Sri Lanka here. There is Maldives here, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal. So these are the members. Countries around India. Just remember that. Right? Afghanistan, start in the west. Afghanistan, Pakistan. Oh boy. Yeah. Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Nepal. On the shoulders of India, you will find Nepal and Bhutan. Then in the armpit of India, you will find Bangladesh. Then at the bottom of India, you would find Sri Lanka, and there is this another country, island country called Maldives. Not really difficult to remember, my friends. The World Bank in its South Asia Development Update has cut India's GDP growth rate to 6.3% from 6.7%. This is in light of the Trumpian tariffs. There is a lot of uncertainty. The biggest issue concerning the tariffs measures announced by United States President Donald Trump is the uncertainty it has created. It is not about, see, the future is always uncertain. We don't know what's going to happen, but something will happen. And therein lies the risk. What will happen is the risk. We don't know, and that creates uncertainty. Uncertainty is the risk. Okay? Risk is always in the future. Risk is not in the, in the hindsight. Remember this. Okay? So, we don't know how things are likely to be in the near future. If there is a prolonged stalemate between India and Pakistan, or India takes military action against Pakistan, this growth rate might come still further down. Okay. Whom of the following won the 2025 Pune 5D Women's Grand Prix? Koneru Hampi. She is currently she is a 2-time Women's World Rapid Chess Champion. 2 times World Women's Rapid Chess Champion. And she is also she was the youngest at that time, actually, the youngest woman chess player to become a grandmaster. She was a little over 15 years old, my friends. Think about it, yeah. And now, of course, she in the record book stands second to be the second youngest female chess grandmaster. She's also a runner-up she's a current runner-up at the World Women's Chess Championship. Okay. There's hardly anything to discuss here. This is Zhu Wenjun, the world #1 in chess, women's chess rankings. With which company did the India's Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship sign an MOU to launch AI careers for women? Microsoft. Microsoft CEO is Satyanarayan Nadella. Chairman CEO is S.N. Satyanarayana Nadella. Okay. Coming to IBM, International Business Machines, the CEO is Arvind Krishna. International Business Machines is headed by Chairman CEO Arvind Krishna. AMD, Advanced Micro Devices. Advanced Micro Devices is one of the world's leading chip makers, my friends. Okay. This company is headed by Lisa Su, considered one of the world's finest CEOs. I think she was ranked world #1 CEO for 2024. NVIDIA, again a chip maker. Jensen Huang is a CEO. Jensen Huang is CEO of this company. Cisco. Cisco is the world's #1 telecommunications and software, hardware, as well as software and hardware maker for in the telecommunications industry. They also make routers, modems, and all that. Cisco, the CEO is Chuck Robbins. He is also the chairperson, Chuck Robbins. The name comes from San Francisco, the name of the city of San Francisco. The last 5 letters, Cisco. Okay. The 2025 World Malaria Day is observed on April 25th. We mentioned this a while ago under the theme Malaria Ends with Us. Now, the idea is this, my friends. These kinds of themes, these kinds of observations help spread the word. They make people aware of what's happening. Why malaria is such a dangerous disease. Malaria last year killed about 6 lakh people, about 90% of who were Africans. Think about it. It's spread by a plasmodium carried by an anopheles mosquito. It's a very dangerous thing. If it's not treated well, of course, it's always dangerous. Yeah. I think barely anything else to discuss. Which state government has launched an initiative to teach Sanskrit to 1 lakh people through classroom or online mode? Uttarakhand. See, there are 2 states in India where Sanskrit is an additional official language. Additional official language. One is Uttarakhand, the other is Himachal Pradesh. So, 2 states in India where Sanskrit is an additional language, official languages, Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. And Uttarakhand also has 2 capitals. One is Dehradun, the other is a place called Bharari Sen. So, 2 capitals that Uttarakhand has is one is Dehradun, the other is Bharari Sen. Maharashtra is also said to have 2 capitals. One is Mumbai, the second is Nagpur. Sanskrit is one of the 22 scheduled languages of India. 22 scheduled languages. The Union Minister of Health and Family Welfare, J.P. Nadda, has launched the National Zero Measles Rubella Elimination Campaign to eliminate measles rubella. The other name for measles is rubella, and this is the campaign that they plan to launch. They have launched to eradicate from India measles. Again, this is caused by a measles virus. Yeah, see, this is preventable by a vaccine. But the problem is, like for example, you look at the United States, the health secretary in the United States is a guy called Robert Kennedy. Okay, he's an anti-vaccine guy. He was anti-COVID vaccine. Okay, he says that we should not give vaccines to our kids because there are a lot of side effects. Yeah, and they won't be able to build immunity basically. Now, recently in the Texas, Florida area, there were about 22 or 23 deaths from measles because there are certain people who believe that vaccines are dangerous drugs being pushed by pharmaceutical giants. I will not go into the merits of this, but you get the drift basically. Yeah. At the funeral of one of the little kids who died from measles in the United States, Robert Kennedy was present. On 22nd April 2025, HDFC Bank became the third company in India to have a market capitalization of over 15 lakh crore rupees. How do you define market capitalization? MCAP. Market cap, MCAP it's called, equals number of outstanding shares multiplied by market price. Suppose a company has issued 1 lakh shares, okay, and the market price of each share is 50 rupees today. What will the market value? 50 lakh rupees. That is the market capital of the company's capital. Market value of the company's capital. If one share is X amount, how many shares? What is the value of all the shares of the company? That's it. India's biggest company by market capitalization is Reliance Industries. That's about, it's I think little over 17 lakh crore rupees. But remember one thing, these things keep changing every day. As the share price goes up and down, market cap goes up and down. So not much to, look at. Currently the world's number 1 company in terms of market cap is NVIDIA. There is Amazon, there is Apple, there is Microsoft. The The CEO of Infosys is Salil Parekh. Salil Parekh. Only one company. Bharti Airtel is CEO is Gopal Vittal. Gopal Vittal is the CEO. According to data from the Indian Patent Advanced Search System, which company now holds over 50% of all patents filed by India's 117 unicorns. Unicorn is usually a startup with a market cap with a valuation of at least $1 billion. $1 billion. So, Ola Group. Ola was started by two persons, Ankit Bhati and Bhavish Agarwal. Ankit Bhati and Bhavish Agarwal started Ola. Okay, let me tell you something about one more. Rapido. This is the part of life, isn't it? So, Rapido is now major, my friends. It's a major company. It's a pretty much like Ola, Uber, ride hailing aggregator basically. Okay. It was started by three persons, S.R. Rishikesh, Pavan Guntapalli, PAVN, Pavan Guntupalli, and Arvind Sanka. Three guys started this company. Rishikesh, Pavan and Arvind. Three guys. I think I just wanted to bring in a little extra in addition to the choice. So, we brought in Rapido. Similipalli is India's 107th national park. It is in Odisha. Uttar Pradesh is home to Dudhwa National Park. Maharashtra is home to a lot of them. You could say Tadoba National Park. Tadoba Andheri it's called. Jharkhand is home to only one national park called Betla. Uttarakhand, you have Corbett National Park. The 2025 Asian Athletics Championship will be held in Gumi in South Korea. I am not going to spend time here. Okay. Which Indian film director was felicitated with the prestigious French civilian honor? The French is there. I'll ignore the French. I'll read the English stuff. The Order of Arts and Letters. It's Payal Kapadia. Payal Kapadia is a director. She is a director of films like Afternoon Clouds. Afternoon Clouds. And now there is one movie that has become quite famous. It's called All We Imagine. All We Imagine as Light. For which she received a nomination at the best director at Golden Globe. Okay. This film also won the second highest prize at the Cannes Film Festival called Golden Prize. It's called the Golden Prize. So, what is the name of the joint military exercise between India and Saudi Arabia? Sada Tanseek. I think the first three, United Arab Emirates, isn't it? Yeah. Which global institution announced its membership in the Santiago Network, which is a global network to tackle climate change? Santiago is the capital of, what is that? Chile. CHILE, Chile. And UNESCO, is United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. This is headed by Audrey Azoulay of France. Let's skip the countries, my friends. Audrey Azoulay. United Nations Development Program headed by Achim Steiner. UNICEF, Kathy. You can write with a C also. Catherine, it's actually. Kathy Russell. United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. Filippo Grandi. Filippo Grandi is from Italy. What is it? Italy. ICJ, International Court of Justice. International Court of Justice is one of the 6 principal organs of the United Nations. United Nations. One is the General Assembly, second is the Security Council, third is the ECOSOC, which is the Economic and Social Council, 4 is what is it called? The Trusteeship Council, 5th is the Secretariat, which comprises the office of the Secretary General of the UN, and the 6th one is the International Court of Justice. It's the only UN principal organ which is not headquartered in New York City. It's headquartered in the French, what is it, place? In the Netherlands, Dutch city of The Hague. You must be familiar with this. The Hague. Okay. And, when we say ICJ, it has 15 judges, if I'm not wrong, 15 justices, and they are all headed by, there is a president for that, okay? Yuji Iwasawa. She's from France. Sorry, Japan. From Japan. Yuji Iwasawa. Yeah. I guess that's about it. And these guys are elected for a 9-year term, if I'm not wrong, 9-year term. That's all from me. Have a lot of fun. Thank you for being here. Stay curious.